In 1969, the fastest police car in America did not look like something built to make history. It had 4 doors, a broad bench seat, rear drum brakes, and the proportions of the kind of full-size sedan that might spend its life carrying a family to church or hauling luggage to an airport. Nothing about its appearance suggested that it was about to establish a performance record that American law enforcement would spend nearly 4 decades trying to equal. Yet that is exactly what happened. The car was the 1969 Dodge Polara, and in police pursuit trim it reached 147 miles per hour. Some accounts put the figure just shy of 150. More remarkable than the number itself was what followed. The muscle car era ended. Big block engines disappeared. Emissions regulations transformed Detroit. 2 oil crises changed the way Americans thought about fuel. Cars became smaller, fuel injection replaced carburetors, aerodynamics improved, electronics advanced, and entire generations of police vehicles came and went. Still, the Polara's mark survived. To understand how an ordinary-looking Dodge managed that, the story has to begin before the car itself. With the extraordinary requirements imposed on manufacturers by one of America's most demanding police agencies. By the late 1960s, the California Highway Patrol needed vehicles capable of operating under conditions that ordinary fleet sedans were never expected to endure. California officers covered enormous distances, worked in desert heat, and sometimes had to maintain extremely high speeds for long periods. CHP, therefore, did not simply choose a sedan from manufacturer's catalog and add lights and a radio. Manufacturers had to prove their cars could survive. By 1968, the agency's pursuit specifications were severe enough to resemble an engineering challenge more than a normal government purchase order. The engine had to be at least 420 cubic inches. Smaller V8s were effectively excluded. It had to operate without detonation on 100-octane fuel and breathe through a single carburetor. Acceleration requirements were equally demanding. Starting from rest, a candidate had to reach 115 miles per hour within 1 mile. By the end of 2 miles, it needed to be traveling at least 125. Then came the braking test. For consecutive stops were made from 90 miles per hour to 0. Each performed near the threshold of wheel lock and separated by only 2 minutes. After that punishment came another emergency stop from 60. Even then, the brakes were expected to remain functional. Excessive fade or dragging was unacceptable. CHP was essentially asking Detroit for a large sedan that could accelerate like a muscle car, spend hours running hard in brutal conditions, carry police equipment and officers, and repeatedly stop from speeds that most American motorists would never experience. Many cars could not satisfy the complete requirement. Dodge could. For 1969, its answer was the Polara Pursuit. The civilian Polara occupied a very different place in Dodge's lineup. It was a large, practical, full-size automobile, the sort of vehicle more likely to become a fleet sedan or airport taxi than a performance icon. That year also brought Chrysler's new fuselage styling. Broad, smooth body surfaces gave the big Dodge an almost aircraft-inspired shape, but no amount of styling could disguise its size. The Polara was heavy. In police configuration, it was a body-on-frame 4-door weighing well over 2 tons. The secret was under the hood. Police versions could be equipped with Chrysler's 440 cubic inch Magnum V8. In 1969 specification, it produced 375 horsepower and, more importantly for a vehicle of this size, roughly 480 pound-feet of torque. Power went through Chrysler's 3-speed TorqueFlite automatic transmission, while relatively tall highway gearing allowed the engine to keep pulling its speeds far beyond those encountered in ordinary driving. At Chrysler's Chelsea Proving Grounds in Michigan, the combination produced an astonishing result. The Polara reached 147 miles per hour. Contemporary accounts sometimes place its ultimate speed fractionally below 150, but 147 became a number associated with the car. Consider what that meant in 1969. This was not a lightweight 2-seat sports car. It was a 4-door police sedan with a front bench seat and rear drum brakes. Yet it could accelerate from 0 to 60 in roughly 6.5 seconds and cover the quarter mile in the low 14-second range. Those figures placed it squarely in muscle car territory. Except this muscle car had room for 2 officers, their equipment, and a prisoner. Its character on the road was also different from what the raw acceleration numbers might suggest. The 440 Polara was not necessarily unbeatable leaving a traffic light. A lighter performance car could jump ahead from standing start. The Dodge's real advantage appeared after the initial launch. At 70, 80, or 90 miles per hour, the huge reserve of torque became decisive. A fleeing driver who had gained several car lengths at low speed could watch that advantage disappear once the Polara settled into its strongest part of the power band. That characteristic became part of the car's reputation among officers. You might get away from a 440 Polara initially. Staying away was another matter. California law enforcement understood how valuable that performance was, and Chrysler treated agencies such as CHP and the Los Angeles Police Department as important customers. Some components were developed specifically around their requirements. CHP even specified its own camshaft profile. At the same time, the purchasing decisions could be surprisingly austere. Despite the performance of the car, CHP often ordered its Polaras without power steering to reduce cost. That meant an officer could find himself wrestling the front end of a massive big block Dodge through a fast mountain curve using nothing more than his own strength. The price helps explain the compromise. CHP reportedly paid around $2,300 per vehicle, substantially below normal retail pricing. Yet air conditioning remained part of the package, an essential feature for officers spending long shifts under the California sun. The result was a strange mixture of extravagance and economy. Enormous engine, extraordinary speed, purpose-built pursuit equipment, but sometimes no power-assisted steering. In retrospect, the 1969 Polara arrived at exactly the right moment. It represented the peak of an automotive philosophy that was about to become impossible to sustain. No rival police sedan immediately appeared and defeated it. There was no dramatic technological breakthrough that pushed the Dodge into second place. Instead, the environment in which cars like the Polara had been created began disappearing. The decline can be seen by following the same 440 engine through the next few years. In 1969, the Pursuit version carried 375 horsepower and was capable of approximately 147 miles per hour. For 1970, tighter emissions requirements forced changes, including a reduction in compression ratio. Performance responded immediately. Top speed dropped to roughly 141 miles per hour. The slide continued. By 1971, the quoted output had fallen to 370 horsepower. Then came 1972. With compression reduced further, the once formidable 440 was rated at only 285 horsepower. In roughly 3 years, almost 100 horsepower had apparently vanished from what was fundamentally the same basic engine architecture. Part of that apparent collapse resulted from the industry's transition from optimistic gross horsepower ratings to more realistic SAE net figures. But the change was not merely accounting. Engines really were being altered. 3 major pressures were converging on Detroit. The first was emissions regulation. Manufacturers lowered compression ratios, adapted engines to new fuel requirements, added emissions control equipment, and eventually incorporated catalytic converters. Unleaded gasoline became increasingly important. The high-compression, relatively unrestricted big block V8 of the 1960s no longer fit the new regulatory environment. The second pressure came from fuel. The 1973 oil crisis changed the economics of operating enormous, thirsty engines. The second oil shock in 1979 reinforced the lesson. Police departments had budgets like everyone else. Suddenly, the question was not simply whether a 440 cubic inch engine could catch a fleeing car. Agencies also had to ask whether they could afford to feed hundreds or thousands of them. Then came downsizing. American manufacturers began shrinking their vehicles in an effort to reduce both weight and fuel consumption. Police fleets followed the same trend. By 1978, Dodge and Plymouth police offerings had moved away from the enormous traditional full-size platform towards smaller mid-size cars. Officers who experienced the transition did not need dyno sheets to understand what had happened. They could feel it. Year after year, the cars became slower. There was even an ironic cultural afterlife for the downsized Dodge police sedan. A few years later, that type of car became familiar to television audiences as the patrol vehicle perpetually failing to catch the Duke cousins in the Dukes of Hazzard. By then, the joke was not entirely detached from reality. The scale of the performance decline became impossible to ignore during the 1978 Michigan State Police testing. The fastest police vehicle tested for that model year was a Plymouth Fury powered by the 440. Its maximum speed was approximately 133 miles per hour. That was the winner. 9 years after the Polara had achieved 147, the best performing police car in the test was roughly 14 miles per hour slower. Some contemporary comparisons went even further. An ordinary full-size civilian sedan could potentially run with the fastest police vehicle available. The pursuit advantage had almost disappeared. After 1978, the big block era was effectively over. Engines in police cars shrank from the enormous 440 to options around 351 or 360 cubic inches. The brutally powerful pursuit sedans of the 1960s were gone. That created a problem that went beyond nostalgia. A sufficiently quick civilian sports car could now simply outrun many police vehicles on an open highway. California encountered that problem directly at the beginning of the 1980s. CHP's full-size Ford patrol cars, the evolutionary ancestors of a later Crown Victoria, were durable, spacious, and suitable for ordinary police work. But they were also heavy. For serious high-speed pursuit on California's long, open highways, they were simply not fast enough. CHP needed a different solution. Instead of searching for another enormous four-door sedan with an equally enormous engine, the agency reversed the old formula. The next pursuit vehicle would be smaller and lighter. Chevrolet's Camaro seemed like the obvious candidate. The Z28 offered exactly the kind of performance CHP needed on paper. Comparatively low weight, strong acceleration, and a chassis design with considerably more sporting intent than a conventional police sedan. CHP evaluated a Camaro for approximately 18 months. Then it rejected it. The problem was not speed. Reliability concerns emerged during testing, including issues involving engine main bearing caps and camshafts. A civilian performance car might tolerate occasional mechanical weakness. A pursuit vehicle expected to operate at maximum effort could not. In 1981, CHP opened a contract to bids. Chevrolet returned with the Camaro. Ford proposed something much less expected, a Mustang. Not a luxurious or highly optioned Mustang, either. Ford's proposal was based on a stripped-down notchback coupe powered by the 302 cubic inch V8. The economics were devastating for Chevrolet. Ford's bid was roughly $6,800 per car. The Camaro cost more than $11,000. The Mustang delivered the performance CHP needed, was substantially cheaper, and offered the reliability the agency required. Ford won. Beginning in 1982, CHP received roughly 400 of the cars, and the Ford Mustang Special Service Package, SSP, entered police history. The concept was almost the opposite of the 1969 Polara. Instead of using enormous torque to force a 2-ton sedan through the air, Ford placed a 5-liter V8 into the relatively light Fox body Mustang. Early police versions received certified speedometers reading to 140 miles per hour. After 1989, the scale extended to 160. For highway patrol work, the little coupe restored something officers had been missing: speed superiority. A story circulated about a driver who surrendered because, as he supposedly explained to the trooper, he knew he could outrun the older patrol cars but understood that he could not escape a Mustang. Whether that particular exchange happened exactly as retold is difficult to establish. The Mustang's pursuit ability itself is not. In early 1986, for example, a Utah trooper driving an SSP Mustang pursued a fleeing motorcycle at speeds reaching approximately 130 miles per hour. The Mustang had brought serious performance back to American highway patrol fleets, but it introduced a peculiar operational problem. It was essentially a two-seat pony car. Once an officer caught a suspect, there was no practical rear compartment in which to transport the prisoner. An SSP Mustang could chase the vehicle, make the stop, and take control of the situation. Then a conventional four-door police car might have to arrive to carry the arrested person away. The Mustang could catch them. It just could not take them home. Chevrolet finally combined those two functions in 1994. That year, the company placed a version of the Corvette's V8 into the full-size four-door Caprice police sedan. For the first time in years, department again had access to a large patrol car that offered genuine high-speed capability while retaining the practicality of four doors and a usable rear seat. Yet even the revival of police performance had not erased the achievement of 1969. The old Polara's 147 miles per hour figure remained extraordinarily difficult to beat. Nearly 2 decades of development had passed during the Mustang era alone, and the Dodge's outright numbers still survived. Claims surrounding the 1994 Chevrolet Caprice illustrate how stubborn the record was. Chevrolet reported figures suggesting that the new Caprice had surpassed the Polara during testing at the company's own proving grounds. Independent Michigan State Police testing told a different story. There, the Caprice reached approximately 135 miles per hour. It was an excellent police vehicle and the strongest performer of its year, but did not reach the Polara's 147 miles per hour mark. The Dodge remained on top. The calendar kept moving. 1969 became the 1970s, then the 1980s, then the 1990s. Fuel injection became commonplace. Engine management grew dramatically more sophisticated. Aerodynamics improved. Tires, brakes, suspension systems, and manufacturing technology advanced beyond anything available when the Polara had been designed. Still, the number remained 147. The record finally fell in 2006. 37 years after the Polara's run at Chelsea, Michigan State Police tested another Dodge police sedan. This time, it was the Charger Pursuit. Powered by a Hemi V8, the 2006 Charger reached 150 miles per hour. At last, an American police car had officially gone faster. There's an almost perfect symmetry to the result. A Dodge had established the benchmark in 1969. Another Dodge finally surpassed it in 2006. The fuselage-bodied Polara and the modern Charger were separated by nearly 4 decades of automotive development. Yet only 3 miles per hour separated their headline top-speed figures. That 37-year interval is what makes the Polara's achievement so unusual. Automotive engineering advanced enormously during those decades. Electronic fuel injection replaced carburetors. Computerized engine controls became normal. Vehicle bodies became more aerodynamic. Tire construction improved. Suspensions became more sophisticated. Braking systems moved far beyond the rear drums fitted to the 1969 Dodge. And yet, for almost 4 decades, none of America's four-door police sedans officially exceeded the outright speed achieved by that enormous Chrysler product before humans had even walked on the moon. The story, therefore, is not simply that the 1969 Dodge Polara was exceptionally fast. It arrived at the summit of an entire era. Detroit had spent the 1960s developing increasingly powerful V8 engines at exactly the moment police agencies were demanding faster pursuit vehicles. CHP's severe specifications pushed manufacturers toward machines that combined fleet durability with muscle car performance. Then the conditions that had produced those cars disappeared. Emissions requirements reduced compression and altered engine design. Fuel crises made enormous displacement economically painful. Government fleets became increasingly conscious of operating costs. Manufacturers downsized their cars. Big blocks vanished. Police performance did not collapse because engineers subtly forgot how to build fast automobiles. The priorities changed. For years, speed became one requirement among many rather than the overriding objective it had been when CHP demanded a sedan capable of surviving repeated high-speed operation in the California heat. The Mustang SSP represented the first major response to the consequences. Instead of recreating the big block sedan, Ford found performance through reduced weight. The Caprice later restored the combination of speed and four-door practicality. Finally, modern engine technology allowed the Charger to cross the line the Polara had drawn in 1969. But by then, 37 years had passed. That is why one of the most extraordinary police cars in American history remains such an unlikely machine. It was not exotic. It was not particularly sophisticated. It did not look like a supercar. It was a massive four-door Dodge with a bench seat, rear drum brakes, a 3-speed automatic transmission, and a 440 cubic inch V8. On the outside, it looked like another anonymous full-size sedan from the end of the 1960s. Underneath, it represented the moment when American police car performance reached a level the industry would not officially exceed until the next century. In 1969, it ran 147 miles per hour. The following years did not produce something faster. Instead, they gradually dismantled the world that had made such a car possible. Horsepower fell, engines shrank, fuel became expensive, regulations tightened, police sedans grew slower. Eventually, technology recovered the lost ground. But it took until 2006 and another Dodge to finish the job. For one brief moment at the end of the muscle car era, a 2-ton family sedan became the fastest police car in America. And then it stayed there for 37 years.